I think it should say that I'm live.
Yep.
Are you seeing me? Maybe plug in your earphones. Yeah. How's it going? Vanished. Huh?
Oh no,
Is it on now?
that's good.
Can you hear me? Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me just fine. Cool. Husband Paul says it's all good. So as this channel just is fairly new, we probably will have a smaller live audience, and that's no problem. We can be an audience of mighty folk. Just a heads up, everybody, that there is a music playlist that's been curated for this practice today. You can find it if you're doing the class later on. If you're not doing it live, you can find it on my Spotify or your Spotify, but my handle. And my handle name is My Friend Simone, like I'm your friend, you're my friend, that kind of stuff. And it will be dated YIN class May 17th, which is today. So if you want to do this class later and start the music, when I say start the music, you can do that and it will work just fine. If you are live with me at this point, I welcome you to go to the Earbuds app if you have that app. The app is basically allowing you to hear the music as I play it live. So I will start that as we get started on the hour, just a little bit. And same kind of thing, you would follow me on that app, and it's just my first name on that app, Simone. And then the playlist will appear live by name and date, and you would just follow it. So that's how it's going to work when there's music for classes. We're going to get started right on the hour. I'm going to invite you to get to your mat, bring a block for practice. If you don't have a block, you can bring a rolled up towel for practice and just have them really nearby. And we're going to start on our belly. So as you get laying down on your belly, what I'm going to invite you to do is just feel a belly Shavasana begin to lay you to the mat, begin to welcome you to the mat this Sunday morning. One of the things with Yin Yoga, and I've mentioned this before, even outside of Yin Yoga, is that once we start to distinguish between taking the shape and using our body to take the shape, there's this saying that goes along with Yin Yoga that says when you really want to find the practice and meet the practice more deeply, more profoundly, you have to think about the shapes that we're making as a way to get into your body. So we're using the shapes, we're using these postures to get into our body, never using the body to get into the shapes. And if you can just make that kind of awareness into the brain for that, it really shifts the practice in terms of how it feels. There's this deeper meeting of self-care when we approach it that way. I'm going to start the playlist in just a sec. I'll let you know as soon as I go live, and you can press play if you're doing it on Spotify. And just being on your belly here, as you get deeper into your belly falling to the floor, I want you to turn your toes out like flipper, resting the insides of the feet to the mat so that your inner thighs are more open to the mat in your belly Shavasana. I like my feet a little parted wide, just gives you a little more space in your lower back. And then you could either put your chin to the ground, or you could put your lips to the ground, or I'm going to actually layer a hand on top of a hand or a forearm on top of a forearm. That's my dog making a special appearance. I'm going to layer my hand on top of my hand or my forearm on top of my forearm. And you're just going to rest that way as we start. And take a deep breath in through the nose. And a sigh out through the mouth. And I'm going to run this playlist right now. You can press play if you're doing Spotify, or you can listen along. Let me just hit that again for a quick moment. Went off the rails. Okay, we're going to hit play right now if you're going live. And if you're ready to go, hit YIN Sunday, May 17th on your Spotify. Little techie stuff, trial and error. Take deep breaths in and out through the nose as you rest your body onto the mat. All right, I'm trying to share this playlist here. Just give me a second. Take another deep breath in on your belly, however you're resting your face, your chin, your lips. And then just peek your head up a little bit and start to bend your left leg and slide your upper inner thigh and your knee up towards your hips. So it's like a belly pigeon pose. And then lie your head back down. And as you lie your head back down, you're just finding that space of relaxing and feeling the opening through the left hip crease. And just feeling the relaxation of your heart and your belly and your hip opening up as your knee rests to the ground. And take a deep breath in through the nose. And maybe you rest your right cheek to the mat. And it gets really simple here. This is a simple gesture in the way of the shape. And so what you want to feel for is your pelvic floor as heavy down towards into the mat, as heavy in towards. And really feel the shape let you get into you. I'm going to take about 2 more breaths here, not a super long hold, just significant enough to very subtly open up the hip. One more breath in, and when you get to the top of your inhale, as you lay your belly to the mat and your cheek to the mat, hold your breath. Hold it for a beat in the count of 2, 1. And then just let that breath go out the mouth. And as you slide your left leg back long, inner left foot resting to the mat, still that flipper foot. Maybe pick up your head and start to bend the right leg so that you're sliding the knee up, lying your inner right thigh down to the ground. If you laid your face onto the cheek, then maybe look the other way. And just notice what's there for the taking. It's a very simple offering. Again, it's not a big shape. It's not a big gesture. And in that gesture of resting your heart to the mat, resting your soft belly to the mat, could you feel the exhales let you be a little more heavy? And then take a pause here, maybe to feel for how your glutes are responding to this, how your bum cheeks can soften to the shape as well. Deep breath in through the nose and deep breath out. And take one deep inhale, and as you get to the top of your inhale, practice holding the breath again, feeling your belly and your chest full for a beat, 2, 1, and then haw it out and let it go. And sliding your right leg long to be the same as your left leg. And picking up your head to maybe kiss the floor or kiss your hands if you've layered your hands. And take a pause there, deep breath in and out. And just keep your flipper feet, and as you maybe peek your head up enough to stretch your arms out long and reach your arms through the fingertips. Feel a very gentle sensation of stretch through the upper back, through the arms, into the shoulder blades, and take one deep inhale. And the deeper the inhale, the deeper the stretch, and then exhale out the nose. As you pick up your head a little higher, you're going to step your hands onto the mat underneath your shoulders. Then I want you to curl your toes under so you take away that flipper foot. Toes curled under, heels pressed up to the sky. And then press through hands and knees. Deep breath into tabletop. And deep breath out. And you can enjoy the playlist still playing. And I will be here just guiding you through the work. Arch your spine, drop your belly down, breathe in a little cow pose. And then exhale, round your spine and breathe out. Come to a flat back before we take our next shape. Breathe in. And one knee at a time, step wide knees behind the wrists so they step up. And then you're going to kiss your toes together, heels away, and kind of sit your bum in between your heels. Breathe in here. And then come down into a child's pose and breathe out. Now, child's pose may have you way away from the mat, so it might serve you to start using your props here. You could even place that rolled up towel underneath your heart as you find that child's pose. You could place that rolled up towel underneath your forehead as you lay your forehead to the mat. Find about 3 breaths here in and out through the nose as you orchestrate a child's pose that you can sit in for a little bit of time. I'm going to offer you the potential to go really wide with the arms. And you can even tee out the arms if there's space to do that. But find an expression in your shoulder body that's pretty relaxed to the floor. And then use this little bit of energy here, this energy of breath, inhaling into the lower back body, our sacrum area, treating it as though your lungs are in that place, and then exhaling from that place. And feeling an incredible amount of give or resting of the sit bones towards your heels. So much so that as you let go in that area, there's a kind of spreading between each sit bone. There's a kind of soft release, allowing for all our bums to feel a little wider, a little heavier. And the trick of being with our yin and being still to the yin is to really let go of this almost instinct, a very human instinct to get going, get moving, get doing. And part of the reason that these classes are offered live rather than just taping away is so there's a real investment in being in the moment together. And so just deconstructing this particular moment for all that it's worth, allowing yourself to really meet the particular moment of surrendering into your child's pose, balasana. Particularly as it relates to those instincts of doing, going, moving. Stay with your breath and really breathe big amounts of space into your belly and your heart so that your belly goes wider and your chest stretches out wider. Sides body, side ribs, side lungs, reaching. And take one more deep breath in through the nose. Another sip. And then exhale, sigh it out. You're going to press through your shins and knees and start to roll up so that you'll kind of pull your hands towards your knees as you slowly roll up and gather the length of the spine here. Take a full breath in as you sit on your heels. And a full breath out to just really feel the length of the spine. Feel the stability of coming out of that rounding. And then we're going to step our hands forward and it kind of picks our bum off our heels a little bit. And then go with that to pick your bum off your heels. You're almost in a tabletop, but it's a little shorter through the hands. Curl your toes under. And then send your bum back towards your heels. So you press a little more stretch and opening into the backs of the feet. And then turn your hands so that your fingertips are looking towards your knees and get a little sensation through the wrists. Feel a big breath in going all the way up the length of the arms. Feel a slow breath out. Option to keep your gaze kind of to the top of the mat, a kind of neutral gaze and a kind of neutral setting with your chin. Or you can take a breath in as though you're readying your breath for a next little bit of shifting. And on your exhale, you might tuck your chin in and hang heavy. You can hang heavy here through the head. Feel a little bit of sensation through the neck body and into the upper back. You can hang heavy and then switch gears a little bit with how you're perceiving this and feel for the sensation again through the wrists and through the arms. You can work your attention or your awareness into the feet and feel for the impact of opening the feet, opening the wrists, opening the upper back through the neck. It's totally normal to receive a bit of burning in the sensation as we feel these offerings here in this opening. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is just be with the sensations that are a little unfamiliar. and meet unfamiliar with your breath. With the simplicity of inhaling and exhaling, seeing about softening or cooling any of those points of sensation. I'm going to take 2 more breaths here. If your head is hanging heavy, on that third breath coming in, inhale the head up slow. Move it to neutral through the gaze and the chin. Exhale, one hand at a time, flips out of this. Fingers now point to the top of your mat. Pause here. You may want to flip your hands, back of the hands down, massage out the wrists. Deep breath in and out through the nose. From here, take the tips of the fingers to the floor and then lift your heels of the hands off the mat. Keep your toes curled under. Use the press of the fingertips and the toes and lift your knees off the mat and your bum high into a pretty short downward face dog with your feet together. Breathe in here and breathe out. The tips of the fingers and the heels of the hands off the mat encourage a little bit of washing out in the wrists where we just were sensation-wise. Feel that for another deep breath in and out through the nose. And then put the heels of the hands flat to the ground like you would for down dog. And if you need a wider stance between hands and feet for down dog, find that beat. Take a deep breath in here as you rest into the hands and the feet, hips up and back, sit bones high. A little yang before we go into our next yin pose. Kick your right leg up, breathe in. And then bend your right leg, open your right hip on top of your left. Feel that as you rest your left heel to the floor for 3, 2. And then straighten your right leg to square down your right hip. Breathe in, spread your toes. And then look forward and step way forward. Ground in a lunge. Put your left knee down on the floor. Carry your arms up to the sky. Breathe in. And pause here as your hips go a little back. Breathe out. And from here, if you have blocks, right, you could put a block underneath your hand. So I'll just demo that for you. And you'll bring your hands down to put the tips of the fingers on the block. And then you'll massage and rest your hips down into a deeper lunge. If you don't have a block, you can't use your tower for that because the towel is a little too soft and low, but you could put your hands stacked on your right thigh and hang heavy through the hips. And just find the long aspects of your breath. The long breathing in through the nose and the slow breathing out through the nose. It's pretty familiar tendency to want to kind of clench the fists as you get into your hips pretty deep. So I just want you to release through the hands and release space between the upper and lower jaw as you find the aspects of easing into this. Again, you might find that support with that block, whether it's on your right hand to block or your left hand. Whatever works so that you can massage an offering into your hip and resting into this. We're going to take one more inhale through the nose and one more exhale through the nose. And then I'm going to get you to take a nice big breath in the shape. Inhale, hold when you get to the top of the inhale. Feel that kind of balloon belly experience. And then hum, haw it out or sigh it out to let it go. Bring your fingertips down to the ground as you tilt your heart forward. And I want you to pause here, your fingertips framing your front foot. One of the things you want to do is either grab your towel or block and bring it with you, because you're going to walk your hands to the left side of your mat. And then you're going to bring your left foot inward to point your left big toe towards the right side of the mat, like I just did here. And from that place, your heart faces more forward towards the side of your mat, almost as though you were going to do that wide-legged kind of fold business, but you're on your left knee and your right foot. And then from here, maybe curl your left toes under and walk your forearms down onto your mat so that you can get deeper into this right hip here. And this is where you might use your blocks or block underneath your forearm or towel underneath your forearm to bring just the floor closer to you and to kind of create a little bit of comfort here. You can also have the left shoelaces flat to the mat, whatever gives you the possibility of fluid inhale and exhale with this bit of ease, right? So you come out of the yang-like downward face dog, that bit of effort into a lunge and into even deeper gestures of ease. Staying for about 2 more breaths here. If you're on a block or towel, coming off of that, hands more flat to the floor to pick up the heart. And then slowly walking the hands back to the front of the mat to frame that front foot, and then bring your left toes back into a low lunge. So your left big toes don't point to the side of the mat anymore, just to the back of the mat. And then we'll use what we set up in that previous shape to go into a dragon low lunge. Come down on your forearms to the inside of the right foot, perhaps stepping the right foot wider out and baking what you've created in your right hip even more into your space. Again, you can use your props as you need them. You might even use 2 blocks or 1 block and 1 towel, or 1 towel or 2 towels. The rules are that you need to be able to find a bit of ease, softness in the jaw, softness in the hands, and let go. And beyond that, there really aren't any rules of what it should look like. Everybody's body will be different. And just remembering that we're using the shapes to get into us. We're using these postures, however they are presented to us on any given day, as a bit of information. So I know with my husband practicing in the next room, his hips are already pretty tender. It may be the case that you need to be in child's pose or Shavasana, that this may be too much sensation for now. We're here for another 40-ish seconds or so. Let the gesture of ease be the last little bit that you find here. And you can get that by way of a very dignified and beautiful long, big breath in and out. Take your inhale, store it up. Perhaps part your mouth and sigh it out. Pick up off the forearms if you're low to the ground or on props, and bring your hands flat to the floor. Bring your blocks or props or towels, whatever they may be, nearby side of the mat. And start to walk your hands in towards your hips so that you walk back. And you'll straighten your right leg here, kind of a half Hanuma. And you're going to take your blocks or your towels and put them underneath your right sit bone, so that when you right sit bone down onto whatever prop you're using, it's leveling your right hip to left hip. Left shoelaces to the mat as the left foot sits underneath your left glute. And then I want you to slowly stretch the arms up, breathe it. And bow down and forward without too much reach, just enough. And then let the chips fall where they may here. As you fold over your leg and you kind of tuck your chin in and rest a little heavier through the head body into the torso body, there may be an option here for resting either a towel or block down to the inside of that right leg, or maybe on that right leg, so that you can rest your forehead down on something here. And it will be here that you start to, again, possibly look for a place to go. I'm just trying to manage that expectation of doing too much. Can you settle into the wisdom of this shape? To the wisdom of your body in this shape? And it may be the case, even though you're not vinyasa flowing, you might feel a lot of heat in that body, right? A lot of points of heat as they open up into the sensation. Completely normal. I want you to try and feed breaths into those points of sensation. Big inhales and exhales out. The breaths can provide a kind of cooling, a kind of softening. You're going to take about 2 more breaths in and out through the nose. And then, almost as though you're doing it one vertebrae at a time, start to walk the hands in towards your seat a little more so that you can roll up slow with a little press through the platform of the hands to the mat. And finding the stack of a long spine again, breathe in and out. If you have a block, towel, whatever prop out in front of you, get rid of that. If you have one under your right seat, as I've asked you to do, get rid of that. Roll a little bit to the left. Put it nearby to the side of the mat. Walk your hands forward into a low lunge for a beat. Pick up your back leg and step into downward face dog. And it is the reality that your right leg is going to feel super longer, way more space through the right hip. It'll also feel tender. Maybe you bend your right leg and straighten your left leg for a beat. Breathe in and out. If you did that, exchange it so that the legs get even with one another. Right leg straight, left leg bent. Breath in and out. And then a micro bend through both legs, a little dip of the belly to thighs. Breathe in. And then more straight legs as much as possible. Breathe out. Kick your left leg high. Inhale, a little yang effort here. Keep it up there. Bend the left leg, stacking your left hip right open on top of your right. Keep your hands flat to the ground. Keep your right heel down. Breathe in and out. Straighten your left leg, but keep it high to turn inwards your left hip. Breathe in. Look forward and step through. As much through possible. Breathe out, right knee down. And from here, take your arms high, stretch. It's Anjaneyasana, hips a little more back than forward. Breathe in. And then either hands to your left thigh or to a block on the inside or outside of the foot. Tons of options as you bring your hips down and forward more into an exhale. And you'll use your hands either to your thigh or to your block as a bit of leverage, kind of holding yourself up through the heart. So use that as much as you need to here without putting too much effort front and center. Allow your forehead to soften so that you're aware of how the brows can not be furrowed here. Allow your lips to soften so that you're aware of how your cheeks, your jawline, and your jaw up and lower can be away from one another and receive a bit of ease. Sometimes there's a little pinch in that back knee. If that's you, you just curl the back toes under. It alleviates that pull as you get into the hips forward and down. And here's a real important detail. If you're not playing the playlist today and if you're not into the live music, right? I've kind of come out of my earbuds here and there. It's not that there isn't a kind of private soundtrack through you noticing the simplicity and the real detail of your inhales and exhales here. After all, this practice is all about meeting the depth, the authenticity, the fullness of our breath. It ain't yoga if we're not breathing in and we're not breathing out. Super slow, super steady, mindfully and aware. Take another inhale here in more of a high lunge, hips forward and down, and another exhale. Come down through the hands to frame the front foot. You can put your blocks or props over to the right side of your mat. We're going to go there anyways. I want you to fan your right big toe inward. So you're pointing your right big toe to the left side of the mat. And then you're going to walk your hands towards the right, almost like you're in a wide-legged forward fold, but you're on your right knee and left foot. And then you're going to set up to send your hips a little back. Get into the stretch of your left hip and sit bone. Maybe power up with blocks or props underneath your heart or underneath your forearms. And just allow yourself to really meet the simplicity of this pose. And the target area is right through that hip and sit bone, but there's also an added kind of target area up the back body, in this case on the left side especially. And you might want to play with that target area getting deeper. We're not here for so long. We're just here enough to almost wet the hips a little bit so that we get really ready for our next shape. Stay with your breaths. Make them clever and work for you. Take an inhale for the count of 4 so that you're able to take an exhale out the nose for the count of 5. Come off of your forearms slow on your next breath in and out. Onto your hands. Move your bum off and up. Walk your hands forward to frame your front foot so that you can fan also your back toes to point to the back of the mat in a low lunge. And then step your left hand to the inside of this foot and walk down, slow and steady. Create whatever systems of support with your block or your towel underneath your heart or your forearms into this very low lunge. So we began the work of what we needed for here, just in that previous pose, and just feeling where there's points of resistance. It's okay to inquire. I invite you to inquire if you can go deeper or if you can be with the depth that you've created, but you can always back off. You can always come out of something that is too deep. One of the great things about this practice is that it shifts ever so slowly, but you can't help but be aware. Even 5 seconds ago, this was different. And just like when we got into that downward face dog and your leg was longer and there was more space on one side, that was different than it was before. So you get to really follow in this practice, particularly all the levels of growth and change by offering this practice to your body and breath. Just staying with your slow but steady inhales and exhales. Whether they bring you deeper into it, or again, whether they pull you out. I'm going to take one more big, bold, kind of fill your whole upper body breath in. And that very slow and steady, but letting go exhale. Walk up to your hands flat. If your left foot's pretty wide out, step it in. And then curl your back toes under and walk your hands back to straighten your front leg into what looks like a little half Hanuma. Take your block or your towel, put it underneath your left seat. Make contact with your left sit bone to that prop. Put your right shoelaces to the mat so that you can sit your right bum cheek towards your right sit bone. Stretch up your arms high, breathe in. And then fold over that front leg. Any amount will do. Any length or reach. You can start off, in fact, with a little bit of reach, but then find a little bit of surrender. Less is more vibe. Again, you might use that second prop on the inside of your left leg. You might even stack it on your left leg a bit so you can get a little more height. And there'll be a ton of sensation all the way up the left hamstring into the left sit, even into the lower back body as you fold. And for these next few moments, just really noticing where's our head at. Are we into do? Are we into move? Are we into go, go, go? Is there a pathway of less resistance that you could explore? Tune in a little bit to those fingertips, to those toe tips. Make sure we're not reaching. Make sure we're not fisting with our hands. Soften the eyes, even if it means closing, and take about 2 more breaths here. If your head has gotten that opportunity to rest down, a little peek up, removing whatever prop might be underneath. Roll up slow as you walk your hands inward, closer towards your seat. Take a pause with the length of the spine. Take a pause to feel the sensation settle. It's that bit of feedback here as we come out of a pose. And if you are sitting, right, you got that sit to the block or the prop on your left sit bone, remove it. Walk your hands forward, creating a little bit of a lunge again, low lunge, right knee down, left foot down. Curl your back toes under, straighten the back leg, downward face dog. Next shape, next little point to check in on. And then just making your downward face dog so delicious. So maybe you spread your toes really wide in your down dog. Maybe with the wide of your toes, you could lift your toes up. And maybe with that, you could reach through the heels a little more significantly, holding breath in and holding breath out. From here, bring your right knee in towards your belly chest, a little squeeze. Come into your pigeon seat. So right knee points to about 2 o'clock is usually my aim. Sometimes it's 1 o'clock. If you're going really deep into the hip and you have the flexibility, sometimes that right knee is 3 o'clock. Nothing is better than the other except for how it allows you to meet your breath, dignified, fluid, grace. You might start by platforming your heart and your head up, being on the forearms. But I want us to try and be aware of finding a yin expression of our pigeon pose. So that's going to mean being super rested, heart to the ground, forehead to the ground. Maybe teeing out the arms, but maybe also a little bit of cactus expression. And as you find your pigeon, the most restful expression of pigeon, I want you to really determine that you can close your eyes here and you can let go here. So that there's that complete surrender into the shape and into those really soft but detailed openings that we've already explored in our hips. And once again, just treating it like you're kind of feeding the breath into the lower back body. A kind of circle into the sacrum back body. Just so there's a little more journey and slow and steady walk of the breath in to you and of the breath out from you. Stay for one more deep inhale and one more slow exhale where you maybe exhale a little more. Engage your belly for a beat. Go to empty, maybe hold on empty a bit. And then start to walk your heart back up. Walk onto your hands. Curl your back toes under, lift your back knee, and step back into a downward face dog, slow and steady. From down dog, feel the sensation in the give from right side versus the left, and then bring your left knee slow and steady in towards your belly and chest, squeeze, and step through onto pigeon with the left knee. And now this time the left knee points towards 11 o'clock, maybe 10, maybe 9. Finding whatever space is available to you as you proud your pigeon before you walk it down and sleep your pigeon right into a restful state. Allow your head to be aware of all the things that you might want to get busy with. And then just return to what this practice calls for. Simple, still shapes, slow, steady breaths. It might be that every little detail that wants to pull you away from that simplicity, it's okay to get an insight to. It's okay to notice that. That's our work, that's our practice. But keep choosing simplicity, keep choosing the shape, keep choosing your breath in the shape. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I want you to observe in your shape 10 more breaths, 10 more opportunities to just be with simple. Choose simplicity. Carefully engaging with maybe the last 2 of those 10 breaths. You might still be deep into it, just doing the work of those 10 breaths. And out of those 10 breaths, you're going to walk yourself back up. Your 10 breaths, not necessarily mine, and definitely not someone else at home, although we are in this shared experience. But your 10 breaths to come out, to proud your pigeon, to curl your back toes under, to lift your back leg, and to slowly step into the richness of downward face dog with a lot more perspective in the body. Whole inhale, whole exhale. Listen carefully. It's going to be the first time we're on our feet for our second last posture. I want you to walk your toes more to the middle of the mat. Keep your hands where they are, so you're in a kind of forward fold with the reach of your hands more to the top of the mat. And you use maybe the tips of the fingers to push the floor away and to press your sit bones back, as though your sit bones could rest up against a wall. Take that full breath in and out. And then I want you to heel toe pretty wide, legs, but toes point straight ahead. And then I want you to walk your hands closer to your toes, bend your legs pretty deep so that you could park your belly on your thighs, and hang pretty heavy in a dangling forward fold with your neck body allowed to be long as the crown of the head pulls weight down. You may use a block or two that stacks underneath your hands or your forearms for a bit of support. You may be able to stack a block and a towel into that offering as well. And you may just dangle, completely free fall into the space of letting go. I want you to create the one that offers you more ease of breath, more ease of posture. The bend in the legs is there to support an opening in your lower back and hips, but you don't want the bend in the legs to be so deep that you're starting to use your muscles like you would in a chair pose. So it isn't an Utkatasana, it's just a little bit of ease and rest and bake in your legs and hips to support this forward fold. And then do this with me. Close your eyes. Crown of the head hangs heavy, right? Take a deep breath in. And then part your mouth as you sigh, exhale. So that your upper jaw is hanging away. And there's space between your upper and lower jaw as you fold into this. We're here to observe 5 more breaths. Try and be real present to all that is being front and center, not only sensation-wise in the body, but also sensation-wise in our head. What's our thought patterns like? Where are we going? Be super present to that. And then make none of it right and none of it wrong. None of it at all. Make none of it at all about being somewhere else, about judging yourself, about beating yourself up. Essentially, make nothing of it. I'm going to take about 2 more breaths before you shift at all. And then it may be the case that you come off of your hands, if they're flat to the ground, to tips of the fingers. If you're hanging way away from the ground, no problem, right? Maybe bend your legs a little more to make contact with fingertips to the floor. You might have to move your props out of the way for that. And then do a real sweet halfway lift with whatever bend in the legs is necessary. And then exhale, bow with a heavy head one more time. And then another halfway lift with whatever bend is necessary in the legs. And then fan your toes out. Keep your heels more inward and travel your bum down, down, down in towards Malasana squat. And you'll pause there. You might need a bit of support to rest your hand on your block out in front of you, because Malasana will feel like a whole lot of business after that forward fold. Take a pause, be with it, deep breath in and out. One hand at a time is going to tent behind you. That's going to help you get your bum down so that one leg at a time can extend wide. That's going to help you find your seat, long legs. And then as slow as you need to, you're going to rest down on your back body for final Shavasana. And it may be the case, especially if you have lower back pain, that you use your props underneath your thighs to create a little bit of the lift of the knees and set your lower back down in final Shavasana. Another offering in Shavasana, if you don't have props underneath your thighs because there's no issues with lower back, it might be the case that you take whatever props you have. Some people really love to kind of just place a block on their pelvic floor as they rest down into Shavasana. It's a further invitation into the restful aspects of our back body heavy to the mat. Remember, this practice, at the heart of it, shape still, breath in and out through the body. This practice is simple. And so don't look to kind of cloud it up or mess it up too much. If there's anything to latch onto, it's all the simplicity. And all that space that simplicity provides. This final Shavasana is yours for the taking. And even though any class that you take will come to an end, how you meet that final Shavasana is really up to you. So remembering that today, remembering that on your next live yoga class, remembering it when you go back into the rooms, that there may be an end to the class. Of course there is, but how long you take space in final Shavasana is completely up to you and often necessary to you and where you're at. Thank you so much for your practice. I hope to see you here on Wednesday and again on Friday, same time. It'll be a Yang Yin on Wednesday and a flow class on Friday. Remember, Shavasana is what it is and it's necessary to you. So as long as you need in this space. Lots of love. Sweet dreams. Namaste. Hmm.